All right, we're recording. So, so welcome to the first inaugural WordPress Meetup Organizers Roundtable. And my name is Birgit Pauli-Haack, and I'm your MC for this roundtable for the next hour. And I'm a deputy on the WordPress community team and also a meetup organizer in Naples, Florida. And I have with me today Karan Arnold, who's a meetup organizer in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I have Ulrich Pogson from the meetup in Bern in Switzerland. And then I have Jim True for you, meetup co-organizer in the Tampa Bay area. The goal for this video chats are to give meetup organizers around the world a forum to discuss ideas and challenges that arise from the day-to-day business of organizing meetup. We are all volunteers, and sometimes we just run out of ideas or have different problems. The video chats are scheduled every Wednesday at 1600 UTC for the month of March. So this is a test. It's the first time that we're doing this, so I think it's good to have 4 meetings to have enough learned lessons to maybe do this in the future in a little bit different mode. So I'm very grateful for Karan, Jim, and Ulrich to sign up for this on a very short notice in a kind of more improvised way. We will have a session form evaluation for you later in the chat window. So you can also give us your opinion about this and what we can do better and what you like and what you didn't like. So it will be each week a different topic. Then we open up the discussion for the topic, for the questions that you will have. We use the chat on the bottom of your screen. You probably see the chat bubble where you can kind of put in your questions while we're talking, or we kind of can get you on camera and you're just gonna start talking there. That works too. But maybe your questions come while we are still talking, so not to interrupt. But before we head into the topic, I would like to go around the room so you can introduce yourself with your name and the location you're in. And then we have the question for our hosts at what tell us about your successful events from 2017 and what was so exciting about. So first introduction. So who wants to start? Carl, you want to start? You came in first, so.
All right, sure. I'm Carl. Hi there. And I'm from Manila, Philippines, and I've been a meetup organizer since 2016.
Excellent. Okay.
And maybe I could talk about some of our successful meetups last year. One of them is collaborating with the Women Who Code. We have Women Who WordPress, and it's one of our biggest event next to the WordCamp. We got around like 80 participants.
80?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, cool. Wow. Yeah. So, and who's next? In the window, I have Imnok. Is that your name?
No. Hi,
it's a username. Hi.
Okay, Nok from Bangkok. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Organize WordPress Meetup in the Bangkok and also WordCamp Bangkok this year and the last year. For the next year, I will be the lead organizer of WordCamp Bangkok. So I would like to more involved in the meetup group to build, to invite more people that can help me for organize WordCamp.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
thank
in
you.
the past,
Okay.
In the previous year, we always have a mix up some kind of always the speaker. So maybe we have always new people come. That is go around, and we don't have people that have to come one and two and the next because always the new people come. That's why I see that I can build about new friends in the group. Yeah.
Okay, so who's next? Archangel, is that your username? We don't see you on camera. Okay. Okay. Joanne? So we, those who just joined us, we are doing just introductions with your name and your location and your meetup. And I have 4 people that haven't introduced themselves yet. So if you want to unmute your microphone, that would be great. Except we also have, yeah, Alexander. Yeah.
Hi. Hi there. Alexander, one of the organizers for Mumbai, the Mumbai Meetup Group, and we're also having our WordCamp in another 10 days. So I'm still in office trying to send out mails and replies and stuff like that.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so if there anyone else, Javier, Archangel. Okay, all right. So let's go around. Karen, you want to start with your most successful events and why it was successful and what you learned from that?
Sure. So let's see. So I'm Karan Arnold, and I live in New Mexico. Our meetup group here is about 7 years old. And we're currently sort of in a lull. So as I was thinking about the topic of what our most successful event has been like in the last year, at first I thought, oh, well, we really haven't had that much. But on the other hand, we really have done something that I think is quite interesting. Because of the lack of time for all of the organizers involved in the community, we've sort of shifted to a work-along mode. So on a semi-weekly basis, we have one of our organizers owns a co-working space here in town. And so she opens up her space after hours for the meetup group every other Thursday kind of. And they do basically what we call a work along, where people bring their projects. They can either just kind of work there, and if some question comes up, they have various experts in the room that they can ask for help. There's a couple of companies locally that bring in, that sort of sponsor, in a sense, that they send somebody from their company to sort of be a dedicated expert at the work along. So they, there's always somebody who has a really good understanding of what's going on with WordPress. And it's been, I would call it successful in the sense that it seems like it's something that people really like. The meetups are typically small, like maybe 12 people. And I call that small just because, formerly we were used to having, more people at an event. But they're very focused. And so people are just, it's a work session essentially. And it's been really great, and people really like it.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Ulrich?
Sure. So I help organize the WordPress meetup in Bern. But I have a colleague, a friend who helps me. And so one of the most successful ones was like last month, where we had someone did a talk on performance optimization for non-developers. And that seemed to resonate with a lot of people. We ended up having 30 attendees, and that was the limit for the venue that we had. And so at the moment we're trying to look for a bigger venue so that we can have capacity for more people. But hasn't always been the case. I mean, we started off where there were sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 people. I think the meetup's been running about 4 years now. And so there's like, this is one of the meetups where we had the most number of people.
Excellent.
And,
did you have a speaker there, or?
Yeah, so we had someone locally who runs a small agency or a freelancer, and he then did a presentation on how you can, optimize your website for performance for beginners, really, or people who are not programmers.
Yeah.
And so giving them tips, tricks.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And Jim, what was your most successful event in the last year?
In the
12 months.
In the last year, ours was actually at a local agency. They hosted us because our space that we had was closing down because Iron Yard shut down. And the space actually allowed us to come into their agency, and we did a discussion on agile project management. It was kind of like a panel discussion. They brought out all of their project managers and pretty much opened the floor to questions in their process, etc. And it wasn't specifically WordPress, although they are a WordPress agency. We talked about pretty much everything, and we had probably almost 30 at that one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So are there any questions that everybody else has for our panel about these things, or anything else you want to add? Well, I have a question. I see Javier doesn't have a microphone, so he talks about he has meetups with about 80 to 100 people. Most successful events were about e-commerce, so that's a huge meetup. Yeah, and of course a work-along probably meetup format probably wouldn't work there that much. Yeah. I have a second question for our panel, or then for our listeners here or visitors here. So how do you come up with the topic? Yeah, what is the process in your group to find out what is a good topic for you? Do you want to start, Jim?
Sure, I can do that. We decided we had like 3 really successful WordCamps in a row. Well, the first 2 were really successful. The last one was successful, but all of our organizers hit complete burnout. And what we realized was that we didn't have enough people in the community that were engaging. They were waiting for us to do everything for them. So we also looked at how many meetups were actually going on, and there were none except for mine in St. Petersburg. So what we decided to do was I met with my folks that were coming to meetups, and I asked them specifically, did a survey, said, what are you guys looking to, what are you wanting to learn? What's your area of expertise? And everyone that was coming to my meetups were primarily business related, like small businesses, people starting their own businesses, designers, front-end developers, that sort of thing. And there were also agency folks. So what we ended up doing was we geared our meetup specifically at 50% technical, like WordPress technical and stuff like that, and 50% business and how to start your business, how to do contracts, how to talk to clients, how to do project management, that sort of thing. Every year, at the beginning of the year, I do a complete roundtable to everyone that comes to the meetup, and I ask every single one of them, what do you want to learn this year? And every person goes like, what's their area they're like trying to like get more developed in, and we use that as a topic, put it on the big board, and that determines our topic choices for the year. One thing we've started doing this year as well is we started doing an Ask Me Anything, which is kind of like Karen's co-working space thing, but instead of being one-on-one, we actually make it a big crowdsourcing open project question and answer session. So someone will, every 15 to 20 minutes, everyone says, hey, what do you want to, what kind of problem are you working on that you need help with? And we all try to help them. And that gives us a really good idea of who could possibly be doing a good talk and who could possibly be doing another good topic. That's kind of how we work ours.
Yeah, and well, thank you. Yeah, that's very good. Doing a lot of crowdsourcing there. What is your process, Karen, or your organizing team's process?
Yeah, typically we ask at the WordCamp what kind of topics people are interested in hearing. This year, we also, at the same time, we also ask for speakers who are interested in talking about those topics. But then we'll also just kind of with a group of things, and the topics that come up in our area are probably the same topics that are coming up for most everybody. You know, how to find a good theme, how to run a multi-site, design trends, membership sites. That's always a big one. Of course, WooCommerce.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I had a question, and if you want to save this for later, I was wondering, just when people are talking about e-commerce, what specific topics are being covered in those meetups? Because I'm hearing from everybody that like e-commerce is the thing, right? That's everybody wants to put their stuff online, and everybody wants to figure out how to do a website to do that.
Yeah.
And so what specifically are people asking about that?
How anybody wants to have a comment on that for Karen?
For e-commerce, I mean, the questions I've been getting mostly is the topics that folks are wanting to find out anyway, is how to set up like those particular accounts that are required that are outside of like Stripe or PayPal. Like the, setting up a merchant account and the checklist of what kind of things that they would need to go through to get that configuration set up properly. Which are the best of the particular gateways to use, which merchant accounts are the best ones to use, which ones are the scams, that sort of thing.
Anybody else have a comment? Ulrich, did they come up in your?
Yeah, we've done a few talks. We've done one comparing like, Shopify and WooCommerce, because like WooCommerce is not for everyone. And so we had a specialist in Shopify come along, and then someone else in WooCommerce give a talk. We had someone else also give a talk on how to set up your first website, first like e-commerce website. It ended up being quite long. So maybe we split it up into like maybe 2 meetups or something like that. Because it becomes quite difficult to concentrate the whole like 2 hours or something.
Yeah. Nook, do you have any insight on when you have topic about e-commerce? What is it that the people are looking for? What is the most interest for other people in your meetups?
Yeah, yes, we have many from business. They are just like a startup business, and they want to know how to use the WooCommerce and WordPress, because WordPress is some kind of new in the Bangkok. Yeah, people come up, and one time we have about set up WooCommerce with WordPress, and we have about 60 attendees to come and learn the new thing, how to set up WooCommerce with the WordPress. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Even they are developer, they may know about WordPress, but they didn't know about the WooCommerce much, so they also come to learn. Yeah.
Good. Anybody else wants to say about? Karen, you got enough information, or? Okay. Well, we actually were very lucky here in South Florida. We have Chris Christoph comes sometimes to our meetups, and he was a lead developer on quite a few e-commerce packages, like on EDD, and the first one was it Jago? I forgot the name of it, and then now works for Awesome Optimizer, something like that. The people that do WP Beginners, and he had a great talk separating the 3 main ones, like WooCommerce and EDD, which is the easy digital download, and then in contrast to Shopify, and had a very good slide deck for that. And then the last part, he talked about what are some pitfalls, like checkout pages and what to do wrong, and what they could do better to reduce the shopping cart abandon rates. He was really good. Well, his family is on Sanibel Island, so sometimes he comes by from West Palm Beach. But that was the topic, how we set it up. Okay, any other questions? Alexander, do you have any questions that you have or that you want to talk, or topics that you talk about, some challenges? Javier? When I'm going through that. So Javier says that he, sometimes when he asks and nobody really comes up with something, he gets ideas from the WordCamp or from WordPress TV videos where the organizers then learn about something. So that's good. Yeah, that's what I started doing too. Yeah, and then they are now starting to talk about Guttenberg. And hopes to, when WordPress 5 comes out in next 2 or 3 months, that's kind of what's in the chat. Alexander, yes.
Yeah, so sorry, I've been lurking, I've been listening to you all, but not actively participating. But one of the things that continuously happens with our meetup group is we try to have this one meetup where we do an introduction to WordPress. A lot of people come to the meetup because they want to learn WordPress or want to figure out what WordPress is all about. That's what they've searched on meetup.com for. And with the whole widget, the meetup showing up in the dashboard, our meetup group has just blown out. We have almost 2,000 members now, over 2,000 members. Yeah. And introduction to WordPress was something that we used to get a higher crowd for any which ways, even before the meetup showed up in the dashboard. So we try to do that every now and then, at least once in a couple of months. So that's something that I would recommend, or I tell every meetup to try out.
Yeah, and I can second that. We had a few people show up on the very specialized meetup topics, and they were kind of lost. So they would have been really appreciative of having a beginner's kind of talk. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Carl, do you have any questions or challenges in your meetup that you would like to talk about, or anything that you kind of found out that really works well?
Actually, we don't have the challenge that we have right now is getting more volunteers for meetups. It's quite a challenge for the past years. But the effective formula that we have in creating events is collaborating with other tech communities in the Philippines, like the Women Who Code, the Philippine Web Designers Organization, Drupal Philippines. We join our efforts in creating an event, so it gives us less stress in organizing.
Yeah, that's I was really happy that I had when I found a new co-organizer, not doing it all by myself. Yeah. So when you that was the echo from somewhere. That was me. I'm sorry. So another question that I have is in terms of topics. Jim, you said you had a survey and you kind of do this in a crowdsourced within the event.
Yep.
How do you prioritize then which topics are actually coming up?
The first year, since it was primarily me doing most of the talks, unless I could find people to actually fill in the topic titles, I would do it based on what I had time to do that month and focus that way. This last time, I actually tried to get people to take on specific topics. So when I was doing the survey, I sat there and I was going, well, you're really good at theme design. How would you like to do a talk on themes? And you're really good on backups. How would you like to do a talk on backups? And that kind of a thing. And I'm trying to call the folks on the carpet a little more and not being afraid to do that, because I can't be the only person doing all the talks. Otherwise, I'm just going to burn out. And the whole point of building community in a meetup is to get them to actually, try this out. So, and learn that speaking is not that terrifying.
Okay, any other thoughts from everybody else?
Yeah. So one way we got around having a speaker every time was to have like more group discussions. So normally in the beginning, we had about 10 to 12, 15 people come to the meetups. And so we didn't feel that we needed a speaker to be standing in the front and telling us something. And so we choose a topic and just have like a group discussion on it. We did try to make sure that we had one person who was a bit knowledgeable, so could steer people away if they were sort of going in the wrong direction, had sort of someone come out with some wrong ideas or anything like that. And so it didn't mean that someone had to come up with a good big presentation. And initially that was sometimes the problem. Someone prepared his presentation and we only had 6 people turn up, and it can be sometimes a bit demoralizing when you've put so much work into it. But just having a little group discussion takes a bit of the effort away.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, is any of you doing some format like lightning talks that are popping up on WordCamps now? Just 10-minute presentation and then switching the speaker?
Just me, but I despise lightning talks. I think they're the worst things in the world. I really do. I think they're horrible.
For yourself or for everybody else?
Honestly, for the person presenting it and stuff like that, I just think they're useless. Especially if you're asked to go to a WordCamp to do a talk and they put you in the lightning talk. It's like, okay, so you want me to take a 45-minute discussion and knock it down to 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Possible.
I think there's a way. I agree. Like, it's a lot of effort. There's the same amount of effort goes in, depending on the topic, of course, to getting up and talking for 5 minutes as opposed to 45 minutes. But I think one of the things that we did a few years ago that was kind of a lightning talk format was like favorite plugins or best themes. So these topics that were so there was a theme to the evening, but no one person needed to come up and talk for 45 minutes about X theme, right? Because what is there to say? So in 5 minutes, we could have a number of speakers come up and say, well, so this is my plugin that I really think is cool, and here's what it does, and here's the neat stuff, and does anybody have any questions? 5 minutes, done. And then there was a lot more information being covered, but one person didn't have to come up with all of that stuff, right? The drawback to that, though, for us was that as we began to struggle more and more with finding speakers, we'd ask everybody already in town that could give a talk to give a talk. And I had spoken a million times. And, so it became much more difficult to find 10 people to come and say, yeah, I'll spend 5 minutes talking about this or that or the other. So we kind of stopped doing it, even though the audience really likes the information. So that was kind of our struggle with that.
Yeah, we did this actually with show off your tools, where they were not necessarily WordPress related, but that kind of was, okay, how do you organize your project management, or what tools do you use for keeping up with stuff, or social media tools. Yeah, so to kind of mix it up a little bit. But you're right. Yeah, if you have talked to everybody yet already, then it's kind of hard to go back and ask them again. And I was just recently on Facebook, there's always these questions. I need somebody to do stuff. Do you have a recommendation? And I was happy that somebody said, oh, I need a WordPress developer in the area. And then 6 or 7 people kind of came up and had a suggestion. And I said, oh, these are new people I could approach to come to our WordPress meetup and maybe even speak or something like that. And I followed up with all of them, and the suggested people were not in the area. So that's kind of the trouble. They can do remote work and be recommended, but they can't be in your meetup because they're in Australia or in Colorado or something like that. So, but I'm really looking through the local business websites and see if I can find local agencies that have not yet been involved in our meetup, because ours is really small. yeah, how do you find speakers, Carl?
Actually, we just post in our Facebook page, and we have like a form there, and we got a like good response from the local people, and then there are some Asian people that like Asian neighbors that submit to our poll or form. So I think we don't have any problems with speakers.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Yeah. How about you, Nook? Knock. Sorry.
Actually, we have a Facebook group. So
Okay.
sometimes we find or looking for someone that could be the speaker, and then we maybe direct message to them and invite them to be our speaker. And sometimes just organizer just that will be a speaker and sharing something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what I keep thinking about is, okay, I have the speaker scheduled, and then it kind of takes a while to get the logistics set up, and then the day off or 5 minutes beforehand, you find out that the speaker has to cancel. Yeah, but you have the people all coming, and what do you do? Do you have any of you have some kind of fallback meeting format that you kind of have in the back pockets with your co-organizers?
We've never had that issue where I am. I mean, because granted, usually I'm the one who's doing the speaking events. But when we have had to cancel, we just sent out a notice like ahead of time and just canceled it. It was because we had Irma coming, the hurricane, so
Right.
we had no choice. You had to cancel to not put anybody in danger. So
Yeah.
That was one of those kind of things. I don't have actually a fallback, but I guess if one of my speakers decided not to talk, I would be ready to just pick up the slack and do it. So.
Mm-hmm. With whatever kind of
and probably do Karen's format, which sounded really cool. So I'm going to steal that for my next one.
How about you, Ulrich? Do you have a fallback meeting format that you?
We've never had anyone not turn up.
Knock on wood.
At the moment, we've never had that case, and I think if it would ever happen, I think we just try to work around it. Either sort of find someone else, or one of the organizers, or myself give a talk, or just have a discussion about the topic or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think everyone knows something. I think we've done talks on backup plugins and things like that, and so everyone's got a certain idea what's their way of doing it, and so you can always make a meetup out of that, really. And it's also sometimes just the networking and the connection, so you're not just there to get knowledge, but also to interact with other people and have a good time, really.
Right, yeah. So any comments from our faceless, no, Alexander and Javier about this topic? Do you have any fallback formats that you do when the meetup speaker had to cancel on you, or you're not? Yeah.
So we've never had a speaker drop last minute, but we actually had one drop a while, at least a week or two before the meetup. So we had someone else pick up the same topic. We encouraged someone else. So it was good.
Okay.
We found another speaker, and we got someone new to do it rather than one of us who's already spoken pick up the slack. We had someone new again, take that topic. Yeah. So we had a new speaker.
Yeah, I never had that either. So yeah, really knock on wood for the reliability of our speakers and all the WordPress community. That's really something. Yeah. And there are other communities where that sometimes is not the case. Sometimes they have to come up with a fallback there. Most of the time when, if that ever happened to me, I would do something like, okay, these are the plugins that I discovered this month. Yeah, what are yours? And is there something that you find really exciting about, and just do roundtables? So it's a crowdsourced kind of event. All right. Anything else you want to talk about? Any other topics? We have topics coming up for next week. Well, hang on. I forgot.
Birgit, I have a question.
Yes, please.
I was just wondering, somebody in the sidebar mentioned Guttenberg, and
yes.
we have not. Yeah, we have not done anything in Albuquerque about Guttenberg. I think even we just had a WordCamp, and I'm off the top of my head, I don't think there wasn't any like a full session on that. But what are some of the ways that people have been approaching that? Is it just a user side of things, like how it looks for the user, or are people doing development talks about that? What are some of the topics around Guttenberg?
No, that's an excellent question. Thank you, Karen. What do you think?
Maybe Alexander can answer, because he's just organizing the WordCamp.
Yeah, so at WordCamp Mumbai, we planned to have a track for Guttenberg. One of the things that we saw from all the applications, we got a lot of people want to talk about developing for Guttenberg. A lot of people applied for the same thing, develop blocks in different manners. All right. So developer talks, we get a lot of those, but essentially people, what we lacked or what we were expecting, that people would just give a basic introduction to Guttenberg, tell them what Guttenberg is about, or how do we start talking about Guttenberg to our clients. Those kind of conversations, that is something that we would have loved to have as applications, but we have not got those, or we have not got speakers coming forward for those. So as a community, we wanted talks in terms of just giving a basic introduction, telling us what to expect with Gutenberg overall, or how do we get started talking about Gutenberg. But we've not seen that a lot as much as we would have expected.
Okay. Yeah. How is it in your community, Ulrich?
We haven't done a Gutenberg talk yet, so I've just been discussing with my co-organizer that we should plan something. But I was at another meetup in Singapore, and so someone did a talk there, and he went through, the different features and everything like that. I think there was to a certain extent, there was a good demo of Gutenberg at WordCamp US at the State of the Word. And so someone maybe instead of showing that, even just try to reproduce some of it in a meetup. But as Gutenberg is still in development, there are always sometimes things that don't work. So we had a problem there at the meetup there that you couldn't make the image the full width or something like that during doing a live demo. And so it's always a balancing act between, showing us off a better product, letting people know there's something coming. But on the same hand, you don't want to look silly sometimes when things don't work as expected.
Yeah, it's pretty brave to do live demos on stage. Yeah, I'll add to. I was at WordCamp Lancaster last weekend, and John Parkinson from the WordPress TV, he did a beginner's guide to Gutenberg, and he got pretty soon derailed from all the questions that came that had nothing to do with users. Yeah, more like, because it was user and developers kind of split in that. And so it kind of was more Q&A than a demonstration. But it's pretty brave, to do something like that. Karan and Nook, how is the community talking about Gutenberg in your areas?
Yes, on the January, we have talking about WordPress 4.9, and I give them a little introduction about the Gutenberg. No one knows about Gutenberg yet, so it's kind of excitement and a new thing. So we talk in the team that we would like to do some kind of series of the Gutenberg. The first one may be just introducing, and the next one may be about for developer, and the third one may be about some people get more people to use Gutenberg and find a bug or review or talk together to discuss more about Guttenberg. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's good plan. Yeah. How about you, Carl? How's Guttenberg in the Philippines?
Same thing in other places. Most of us, it's not yet much discussed in our place, and most of us is used to the page builders, the common page builders, and most of them is like the sentiments that I'm hearing is they feel negative about the Gutenberg because I think they have mastered how the page builder their favorite page builder works, and if Guttenberg comes, they'll be learning again a new thing. So I'm not sure on what will happen next, but we maybe in the next sections we're gonna try Guttenberg talks.
Okay. Any other ideas about how you haven't done anything, Jim?
We haven't yet. We have a developer from Rocket Genius, the Gravity Forms folks, and he did a talk up in Newport Richey, which is one of we have like 6 different WordPress meetups in Tampa Bay area, and they're slowly getting rolled into the charter program so that they're showing up in the dashboards. But he did a talk up there, and he approached it both from the user perspective and from what was available, what kind of things were available from a developer's perspective, and ways to approach the blocks concept. And he had a really good turnout at that one and some good responses. We've been wanting to do kind of like a panel discussion to say, what does it mean? What's going to happen? What's going to be the upheaval? How are you going to have to train your clients and stuff like that? And that's what we're probably going to end up doing sometime in May. It'll be after April. So
yeah, I'll have the feeling from so I run a small website called Guttenberg Times, and I'm curating since June all the new stuff that comes out with Guttenberg, being it development, being blog posts of agencies that kind of want to try figure out how to talk to their clients. And so what I'm right now seeing, the kind of uncertainty that's out there is because there is no roadmap yet. Yeah, and
exactly.
And the other part is that there are a few plugin developers that already are very upfront in terms of, we have here a beta version, and we have here a beta version, and we think about that, and we are already working on it. One of the plugin shops actually is actively working on Guttenberg. I think Yoast, SEO, Yoast, people from Yoast are actually contributors to Guttenberg. So there is a whole range of, and some of the theme developers are asked from their users already, and they're not yet able to come up with really good answers because they don't have a roadmap, so they can make any plans. So that's kind of, and I think that will settle as soon as Guttenberg itself is going to be feature complete. And there are, I think, 6 or 7 items still on the list that need to be put into Guttenberg and tested and kind of refined. And after that, it will go into the so-called merged reposal, meaning now it's a feature plugin, what is necessary to actually make it into core. And then all the questions will have answers that are floating around in the universe right now in terms of, okay, what happens with plugins that are not compatible? What happens with theme, and what can they do? And does my site crash? And that's kind of all the fear that people have right now, because there's no other anybody talking about it. Okay, what happens with people's websites? And of course, there are such a big range of plugins and setups and multi-site, and that always kind of need to ask, okay, what is your site about? So the best advice that's right now out there is to say, okay, let's spin up a staging site, make a copy of your website, install a Guttenberg plugin, and see what breaks, and then keep a record of it, and then go into the GitHub repository and discuss it with the developers. Yeah, I think that's the fastest process. But yeah, it's. But I have done Gutenberg live sites. Gutenberg Times is actually running on Gutenberg. And I really love it. So the users, the bloggers, users that, there's also a great mock-up from WooCommerce out there and how their products can be rolled into Gutenberg. I really like that, but it's already 3 months old. So those who come on board now are not getting the links, where to go, and developers actually moving on and doing something else. So that's kind of my little spiel of it, Gutenberg Times. Sorry, got me started. Yeah, so we have 10 minutes left. We have I was trying to get the post that I had with the topics for the next ones. So next week is, if I can type, next week we have on March 14th, the topic is how did you find your venues and strategic partners locally? And we will be here at the same time, 1600. I have a link for you, copy, for the chat. So that's a session eval. Oops, yes. So if you want to fill that out and let us know what you like and what you didn't like and how you would like to change it. But we have 10 more minutes. So if you have additional questions or what you want to talk about, yeah, go ahead, put it in the chat, or for those that are not on camera here, or just start talking and yeah.
Maybe I could share a bit how we select our speakers and topics, as we do it a bit differently to some of the other people in the
okay,
group here.
Yes, absolutely.
So normally at the end of every meetup, we sort of ask in the round of like what people are interested in hearing, and then we go on our website for the meetup, and then we just list it up there, all the interesting topics, and then we normally ask in the round in the second part, is there someone who's willing to talk about one of these topics? And so this is, the list keeps on getting longer, and slowly then, when people sign up and say, oh, I could maybe talk about that, or I could talk about something else, we're able to remove them from the list and add them to our list of future talks, really.
Oh, I like that
so
idea.
It's like,
yeah.
So it's continuous feedback. There's some people who don't turn up, who've requested talks or requested topics that haven't turned up for those. But then there's always been other people who's been interested also and come along to that. And that seems to work. I mean, we're booked out now till April for our meeting, and we've got a few other ideas. Like in Europe, we've got the GDPR, the privacy policy that's coming in. And so we're trying to get a local lawyer to come along and give a talk on that. And so we've got a few different ideas to work on.
Yeah, that's right. There are 2 topics in Europe that kind of, bubble up, and silent almost everything else. Yeah, so anybody else has a comment or that you want to share? All right. Okay, so March 14th, 1600, how you find venues and strategic partners. March 21st, we have how do you find something? March 21st is how do you promote and cross-post your meetups in the local community? And then on March 27th, we have how did you find your co-organizer? And we touched about a little bit today that it's very helpful for someone not to do a one-man, woman, person show, and rather have co-organizers to kind of get the burnout prevented that comes with community organizing. I'm very grateful that you all came out, and thank you so much for Karan, Jim, and Ulrich to be our hosts, and thank you for Carl and Nook to augment our group of people, and Alexander and Javier. Sorry I can't see you all, but it was really wonderful, and we can close it early if that's okay with you. And get everybody back to work. Thank you so much. This was your first inaugural WordPress Meetup Organizer video chat. Thanks so much. And bye, everyone. Don't forget the evaluation form. Thank you.
Thank you, Brigitte. Thank you.
Bye.